Welcome back. And for more details, very delighted to be joined over the phone by Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the journalist and writer and the political analyst. Good afternoon, Mr. Khoury.
Good afternoon, Dina.
Right now, assessing the situation, we cannot dispatch, before we get into details, we cannot dispatch the situation in southern Lebanon from the situation between the U.S. and Iran. Though that the confrontations are different. In Lebanon, it's Israel and Hezbollah, and but the confrontation between Iran and the U.S. is in a total different place, and at the same time, Hormuz, the Hormuz Strait is also involved. Where would you like to start?
The situation is definitely related. The situation in Lebanon is definitely related to Iran. To the degree that the Lebanese government is now heading to Pakistan to meet with the Pakistani negotiators who are negotiating a deal between America, the USA, and Iran. So the Lebanese fully understand that even to President Trump, the Iranian link is a link that has to be tackled rather than ignored, because all of the attempts of the Lebanese to ignore that link and to say that Iran should not be allowed to interfere in the internal affairs of Lebanon, and claiming or declaring that the current situation between Hezbollah and Israel is directly linked to an Iranian decision and an Iranian intervention in the affairs of Lebanon. This is not going to work. So that now they are forced to go and try to have a role, not only in negotiations with Israel directly in the USA as they did before, or even a second bout in Cyprus as may come at some point, but now they actually have to go and talk to the Pakistanis, who are unrelated to what is going on in Lebanon.
Of course,
they are the mediators between the USA and Iran.
Exactly.
Obviously, one thing that is very clear. The Lebanese government and the Israelis, under the auspices of the USA, have declared a ceasefire that has not been implemented. The Israeli Ministerial Council met. Supposedly, they were supposed to be meeting in order to endorse the ceasefire, but then decided not to endorse it or accept it and continue with the war because Hezbollah rejected it. And why Hezbollah rejected it? Because the ceasefire stops Israel from attacking Beirut, but gives the green light to Israel to continue its action in the south of the Litani River. And which basically means there would be no ceasefire. So what would Hezbollah accept? To allow Israel to continue its military action in the south of Lebanon in return for not attacking Beirut when they are attacking Sur, they are attacking Nabatiyah, they are attacking major cities in Lebanon.
That's true. So honestly speaking, why is it always the attacks or the strikes come after declaring a ceasefire? But right now you said that there were something that distracted this particular ceasefire that was agreed presumably between the two sides. There were statements immediately that were given by the leader of Hezbollah, Nabil Qasim, and he criticized the negotiations, the direct negotiations between the Lebanese and the Israelis. There were certain points and reservations on his side. What were these reservations, and were they right? Were these reservations right or no?
Absolutely. The reservations are very clear. If there is a ceasefire, there needs to be a full ceasefire. A full ceasefire in the south of Lebanon, not just an agreement by Israel not to attack Beirut. The other problem is the agreement does not stipulate a full pull-out of the Israelis from the areas that they occupied in South Lebanon. There is a gradual pull-out from certain specific areas like the Shqiq Castle area, very limited areas where the Lebanese army would go in and take the place of the Israelis. But that doesn't stop Israel. Now, the general problem and the problem that is previous to what's going on in Beirut, in Lebanon right now, is that whereas a ceasefire to the whole world is a cessation of all hostilities, to Israel, a ceasefire is simply the other side cannot attack us, but we will attack them. And we will attack them on the pretext that we have the right to defend ourselves from something that hasn't happened yet. So, if the Israelis imagine that there could be a military problem or a security problem anywhere by anyone for anything, they will continue attacking. This is why almost 3,000 Palestinians have died, have been injured in Gaza. Almost 1,000 died since the declaration of the last ceasefire. The Palestinians are not attacking Israel, but Israel is attacking Palestinian civilians. And they are attacking hospitals, and they are doing all of that. And how do they justify it, despite the fact that it's a very clear break of the ceasefire? Is the Israel has the right to defend itself against something that has not happened, but may happen by some party that may exist or may not exist. So it's a big problem. To have a ceasefire agreement with Israel doesn't mean that your people are not going to be killed. And this is also evident in Lebanon and in South Lebanon. When there was a ceasefire, Hezbollah was not attacking Israel, but Israel was carrying out operations inside of Lebanon, especially in the south. So you cannot trust a ceasefire with Israel because the Israelis don't abide by what is understood internationally as a ceasefire. And therefore there is a problem there. But this specific ceasefire agreement gives Israel the full right to continue its military action on paper. So to have that on paper, when Israel actually breaks it, when it's not on paper and it doesn't stipulate such a weird concept of Israel has the right to defend itself, and therefore Israel has the right to kill civilians anytime it wishes, because it feels that it's defending itself when it does that. All of this is a very big problem. And the reason why it happened is because the Lebanese government is under major pressure by Trump and by the American administration. And as everybody knows, that any promises made by the American administration doesn't always come true, because at the end of the day, the Americans would renege on behalf of Israel. So if Israel puts enough pressure on the USA to get a green light to do something, etc., etc., we have many cases in which we saw the Americans support Israel fully. They immediately adopt the Israeli story, even if it's ridiculous and doesn't make sense. So there are issues. There are big issues. And the Lebanese need to also look at what's going on in Gaza. They cannot, if they don't understand their own history with Israel, the Lebanese also need to take into account what Israel has been doing in Gaza in order for them to know what is going to happen to them next. Israel today is occupying 70% of Gaza. So the occupation has spread since the ceasefire. They were supposed to be sitting at a maximum border with Gaza that allows Israel to occupy 60%. They are occupying 70%. The Israelis now are talking about occupying the whole of Gaza. And these are Israeli ministers who are coming up with such statements. And therefore, What about the ceasefire? What about the agreement that has been made? Where is the National Council that is now sitting in Cairo rather than going into Gaza in order to take the situation on the ground? Why is that being delayed? Why did they change the 25 points to another new 15 points that are going to delay negotiations and delay the entry of the Palestinian National Council in order for them to come in and take charge, and Hamas is no longer ruling Gaza? Why is Israel wanting Hamas to continue to rule Gaza? All of these issues are issues that the Lebanese need to look at in order for them to understand, because this is exactly what's going to happen in the south of Lebanon.
Right. Before we go, we need to ask you another urgent question that is related to the Strait of Hormuz. Now, news came that there is a complete closure of the strait by the, is it totally by the United States? And how do you read the closure? If this is going to be affected for a long time, is it going to be one of the challenges that each side is setting before the other? How exactly do you read this piece of news?
Well, there was never a real full closure of Hormuz. We are talking about dozens of vessels that have passed, either by getting the green light of the Iranians, in many cases probably paying fees to the Iranians, which is illegal under international law. And some have also passed under the protection of the American military. So there has never been a full closure. Nevertheless, there has been a major bottleneck. So instead of hundreds of vessels passing through Hormuz, we are seeing dozens of vessels pass through Hormuz. And this has really affected the economy of the world.
Exactly.
There are companies in Germany today, the Germans came out today in a press conference declaring that many companies are actually declaring bankruptcy because of the price of fuel and oil.
And that act in its own right is almost as a complete closure, because it affected immediately and the escalation of oil prices and the bulk of vessels that are awaiting to pass, and there is a complete anarchy inside that particular area. And like you kindly mentioned, immediately news of an economic collapse again is wavering or giving a red flag. So how do you assess this particular step, and is it going to be probably some leniency would be taken later on in the week?
It should come to a resolution, and let me tell you why. The opening of Hormuz is good for not only the world, it is also good for Iran. And Iran is the one that is using Hormuz today as a weapon in its negotiations with America, and they've succeeded to a very large extent. The Americans have pretty much come down the tree. They are no longer talking about annihilating the Iranian people, nor are they talking about the return to military action. The Americans now are talking about opening of Hormuz as a primary goal. Hormuz was open before all of this happened. So anyway, but that has become a primary goal. The other primary goal is a principal agreement, if you like, a memorandum of understanding regarding Iran's nuclear abilities in the future. And even the Americans are no longer talking about the Iranian missile program.
Right. On that note, Mr. Ramzy Khoury, the journalist, the writer, and the political analyst, would like to thank you so much for talking to us on